Beyond the Horizon.
Sunlight bathed the Pan American Terminal at Pearl Harbor as Professor Michael K. arrived.
From a distance, the station looked like nothing special. 3 Quonset huts arranged in a shallow crescent around a central area, a squat generator shack that chugs steadily in the background. Japanese naval activity has increased dramatically in the last 6 weeks. The RAD Lab, established in 1940 under the National Defense Research Committee, was more than a government laboratory. Moored at the far end of the commercial pier, away from main shipping traffic but close enough to naval facilities for security, was the Kilo Kilo Maru. Ridley worked beneath a sun-bleached tarp strung across the aft railings, his shirt clinging to him in damp.
That, Mr. Gepner, is a submarine. He's obviously trying to sneak through the net into the harbor. General quarters.
I've got a group out west, large formation. Looks like carriers with a screen. Speeds pushing 30 knots, bearing 135. 3 consecutive sweeps. Formation tight, course 140, closing at combat speed. Tom Ridley doesn't mistake ground clutter for a task force.
Tinkerbell worked. American forces caught the Japanese fleet by complete surprise. In the end, 4 carriers had been sunk and 2 others heavily damaged.
Right! We're coming, hold on! Here! Here is the update from Hawaii. Pearl Harbor is secure, enemy attack repelled, 4 enemy carriers confirmed sunk. High alert remains.
President Franklin Roosevelt sat at the head not in triumph but in visible frustration, his hands, one holding a cigarette, the other gripping a thin sheaf of cablegram. The aftermath didn't feel like victory. It felt like the breath held between heartbeats, tight, uncertain, waiting for the next blow.
Professor K? Yes. Follow me, sir. Your transport's waiting.
The work at Berkeley was as relentless, an unbroken cycle of calculations scrawled across chalkboards. By the early summer of 1943, the fuse had evolved from sketches on a blackboard to something you could hold in your hands, though no one would call it elegant. I wonder if we'll survive being the first to build something we can't take back. From the first day Kay arrived at Berkeley, he noticed them. Men in plain suits and polished shoes. In the minute, the design possessed a terrible perfection. And it was his creation. The plan had been whispered in war cabinet corridors for months, sketched in chalk across blackboards. By late summer of 1943, the war map on Kay's office wall had stopped resembling anything he'd predicted. On November 1st, 1943, the war's trajectory changed forever. The coded message, Der Führer is dead, arrived at the Reich Chancelleries, 1943. By the summer of 1944, Kay's wall map had stopped changing. The red line had hardened into something that looked disturbingly permanent. She caught him looking, and for a moment their eyes met across the scarred wooden table. Something passed between them. Unofficially, it was a crash effort to build a defensive network that could detect and stop any Soviet long-range strike before it reached American cities. The universe has revealed its final secret, Oppenheimer said quietly, watching the cloud rise. And the secret is that it permits its own annihilation.
The general is correct about the immediate danger. But we must consider the long-term implications. Other nations will develop this capability eventually. It means they can end any war before it begins, if they choose. Then we must make certain they do not choose. Time to coast? 25 minutes, sir. Estimated impact zones, New York City and Norfolk, Virginia.
The first few plots were scattered, too loose to establish a clear pattern. Then the timing and position converged, and Kay felt his throat constrict. The target was Washington. First intercept launch came from Cape Charles, Virginia, a green trace rising from the Sentinel installation there like a bright arrow on the scope.
I've spent my life believing that war should be the last resort. And now you're asking me to begin a war unlike any we've ever imagined.
Jesus Christ. After 3 days of careful negotiations conducted through coded messages and diplomatic intermediaries, a location was agreed upon: Chernobyl.
History may be written by the victors, but the future is written by those who see beyond the horizon.